So I want to talk to you about what it's like to wear a mask. When you put a mask on, have you ever noticed that when you're wearing a mask, you can be so much more animated, and you can be like talking about things that you'd never talk about, and you can have so much more energy, and you act really crazy and silly, and as soon as you take the mask off, you start to be like, whoa boy, people are looking at me. It can't be too much outlandish and too weird. I know there's nobody here right now, but I'm looking to a lens, and I know you're going to watch this, so I don't want to be too much high energy, but I put the mask on, and it's like, oh, I can make big, wide facial expressions, and I can say all sorts of things because you can't see me, but as soon as you see how it changes, that wasn't on purpose. Did you hear the voice tone shift? That wasn't on purpose. It just happens. So what's that about? What's that about? How come when we're wearing a mask we can be all crazy and we take it off? We can't. I think it's because when we're speaking without a mask on, we know that people can see our face. And if you can see my face, that means you can see what I'm feeling. And if you can see what I'm feeling, that means you know who I am. And if you know who I am, then that means you might not like me. And if you don't like me, that means I lose your love and I have to be alone, and that's not okay. And that scares me. It scares every single human being, the idea of not being liked, accepted, respected, loved. And so, when we put the mask on, all of a sudden you can't see my face anymore. You don't know what I'm feeling. You don't know who I am. So I can just fully express myself freely and do it and say whatever I want. But as soon as it comes back out, it's like, shit, you can see who I am again, and I want to make sure that you like me, so I got to normalize who I am and what I'm doing, what I'm expressing. And so, yeah, maybe this is interesting, but how is it useful? How is it useful? Well, I think just the simple idea that putting a mask on cancels out the ego mask and gives us more insight into who we would be without that ego mask on is useful. Maybe get a mask and try it on. Role play with yourself in situations where you're a little bit uncomfortable, or you're not being the person that deep down you know you can be. You don't know who that actually is or what that person would say. Well, put a mask on and try it. Try it. Try standing in front of a camera with a mask on. What would you be like? What would your voice sound like? What would you say? And practice. Take the mask off and then see what changes. If nothing changes, then you're being more and more true. And so maybe a mask, maybe the point is that a mask can be a tool to help you to cancel out the mask that you're wearing day to day, the mask of the ego that's stopping you from fully expressing yourself. Just something to play with. Think about it. What would your life be like if you were wearing a mask that cancels out your pre-existing, always worn ego mask?